Hey, my son's wedding is starting. I regretted picking up the phone when I heard Mike's voice after so long. Huh? Kai is still in middle school, you know? What? I could hear a dumbfounded voice. It was beyond irresponsible for Mike not to remember our son's age, even though we divorced. I was filled with anger. Do you even know how old Kai is right now? Huh? He's about 20, isn't he? Despite the fact that Mike and I got married when I was 38, how could he possibly mistake Kai for a 20-year-old? I could only sigh at Mike's careless attitude. You're the one who abandoned us 11 years ago. Yeah, but we couldn't have a child together. That's why I'm saying it's Kai's turn. He seemed completely unaware of how selfish his argument was. I decided to fight him thoroughly without hesitation. I won't let you have it your way. Don't ever contact me again. Hey! I hung up the phone, and Mike called me multiple times, but I ignored it. It's his own fault. Let him deal with it. My name is Sanaa Turner. I'm a 44-year-old designer. I divorced 11 years ago and now live with our second-year middle school son, Kai. I divorced Mike 11 years ago. The reason for our divorce was Mike's infidelity. He was originally busy with work and came home late, but one day he suddenly brought a woman home. I'm going to remarry this woman. Remarry? You mean divorce me? Kai is only 3 years old. When I raised my voice, Mike made a bothered expression. Without even looking at Kai, he shooed him away with a gesture. He's already 3 years old. Kids only need one parent. Come on, get out, get out. What? What are you going to say to your mother? To my words, Mike smiled slyly. And he said something shocking. Mom introduced me to this woman. What? So, you're useless to me now. Write that divorce paper and get out. As Mike said this, cuddling with his lover, I left the house, carrying Kai with me. I went back to my parents' house, but since they were living with my brother and his wife, I couldn't stay long. I decided to start working while raising young Kai. Before marrying Mike, I was a designer. I traced my old contacts and began taking orders online. I barely slept due to Kai's night crying, but working while watching him grow was tough yet enjoyable. My parents helped occasionally, and my sister-in-law Jolie also assisted, allowing me to get my work on track. Now, I earn enough to live comfortably, even wealthily. Mike never paid child support, nor did he ask to see Kai. I didn't even know where Mike was. Rumor had it he went abroad, but I had no details. To me, he had disappeared. Though it frustrated me that Kai's right to child support was ignored, I preferred not seeing Mike. This life continued until Kai was in 5th grade. One day, he asked, "Hey Mom, what's my dad like?" What? Caught off guard, I replied. He scratched his nose awkwardly, saying, "We were asked about our parents in class, and I realized I never heard about Dad from you." I was struck by his words. I never really talked about Mike to Kai. Okay, let's have tea later and talk about it. Thanks. I thought to myself how he had grown into a fine young man. While thinking that thing, I made tea. And I told Kai about Mike, omitting the affair. Kai, being in the upper elementary grades, seemed to understand. So, what would you do if he came to see us now? Do you want to see him? I asked. Kai hesitated, then dropped a bombshell. Someone claiming to be my dad was at the school gate. He asked if I wanted to live with him. What? Shocked, I almost dropped the plate I was holding. How did Mike know where we lived after disappearing overseas? The answer would come in the worst way later, but at that moment, I was filled with foreboding. What do you want to do, Kai? No, I want to live with Mom, and really, you're the only parent I have. I don't really get how that guy could be my dad. I was relieved by his words, but still, Mike showing up at the school out of the blue and suggesting they lived together was just out of line. I hadn't heard from Mike in 8 years, but I decided to contact him. His phone number might have changed. Still, I dialed. Hey, Sanaa, long time no see. He answered as if we had only been apart for a week. I sighed deeply at his tone. Just from the phone call, I could tell Mike hadn't changed. Did you go to Kai's school? Yeah, about that. Thought I might reconcile with you. I was trying to pave the way. I was momentarily confused, not understanding what he was talking about. Reconcile? With who? What? You and me, obviously. Why? Because I felt like it. Don't be annoying. His voice was irritated on the other end of the phone, and it was clear I wouldn't understand anything he was saying. Anyway, reconciling with Mike was out of the question. So Mike thought he could just reconcile with me because he felt like it? I wish he would stop making a fool out of people. Reconciliation is not happening. Kai wants to live with me, and he doesn't want to live with you. Mike clicked his tongue loudly on the other end. But seconds later, he cheerfully said something shocking. Then give me money. We didn't split assets, did we? What? We agreed no asset division in exchange for no alimony. When we divorced, my mother-in-law, concerned about how they looked, had balked at paying alimony. So, we agreed I'd get the house and savings instead of child support and alimony. Of course, I sold the house right away to turn it into cash for living expenses. Mike knew this. And yet, I couldn't believe he would say such a thing. So, if we reconcile, we'll share assets again, right? So just give it to me first? I told you, I'm not interested in reconciling. Never show up in front of me and Kai again. I said and hung up the phone. He called back several times, but I ignored all the calls. After blocking his number, I finally felt relieved. But since then, there have been sightings of a suspicious person around Kai's elementary school. When I heard the description, I instantly knew it was Mike. Just to be safe, I went to the police to report that I was being followed, but they didn't take it very seriously due to lack of evidence. Reluctantly, I decided to start picking up and dropping off Kai at school. For several weeks, Mike didn't try to contact us, and the reports of the suspicious person died down. That's when I let my guard down. What Mike did that day was unforgivable. Mom, it's okay, you don't have to pick me up today. I'm going to hang out with friends. Are you sure? But it's fine. We haven't heard about any suspicious people lately. He was right, he had been cooped up a lot lately and probably wanted to play with his friends. So, I decided not to pick him up. However, Kai didn't come home even after curfew. He's late. I waited at the door, but there was no sign of Kai. I had a bad feeling and put on my coat to go outside. Oh, perfect timing. Mike! As I opened the door, Mike was unexpectedly standing there. I was confused. But then someone got out of the car, and I exclaimed loudly. Kai! Mom. Kai had tear streaks on his cheeks. I rushed out to hug him and glared at Mike. What did you say to Kai? Nothing special, right, Kai? Kai gripped my clothes tightly. I couldn't contain my anger towards Mike. He just smirked at me. Well, I'll come again. I just got back to the States and now I know where you live. Don't you ever come back. Even as I yelled, Mike didn't take me seriously and left laughing. For now, I got Kai inside and sat him on the sofa. What did he say to you? He said, your mom's a whore. The life you have now is all thanks to money she got from men you don't know. Hearing that made my head spin. That's not something you say to a teenager. Besides, I'm a designer. I've sold designs, not myself. Kai's eyes welled up again, and he clenched his fists on his lap. I was so mad. I wanted to say you're not like that, you're definitely not. But I couldn't talk back to him. Kai, just feeling that way is enough. Mike's words had hurt my child, more precious than life itself, to tears. I was boiling with rage. But first, I had to reassure Kai. I showed him my workspace and explained my job. I'm a designer, and I create these. Wow! You drew these, Mom? Yes, but it's our secret. Sure. Of course. Kai's eyes sparkled as he looked at my designs. I was relieved, but I couldn't predict when Mike might interfere again. So, I suggested moving to Kai. Kai, I was thinking, how about we move closer to Grandpa's house? Huh? Does that mean I'll have to change schools? Yes, it does. But Kobe will be there too. If I'm going to the same school as Kobe, I'm in. Kobe is my brother's son, the same age as Kai. They've been close since they were little, calling each other by nicknames. As they grew up, they became even closer, and despite living apart, they were best friends. Kai agreed to move without hesitation, and within 2 months, we moved closer to my parents' house and he started attending the same school as Kobe. Thanks to Kobe, Kai quickly fit in at his new school and enjoyed going every day. My parents and brother were thrilled that Kai and I had moved back nearby. However, Jolie, my sister-in-law, behaved differently towards me. She was kind to Kai but oddly cold to me. "Hey, you're not planning to come back for good, are you?" "What?" "It's just that. You're not after the inheritance, are you?" "I have no such intentions." I was bewildered by the sudden change in the usually kind Jolie. So, I stopped visiting my parents' house unless they called me, and Kai started going there more often. My parents and brother, as well as Kai, were puzzled by this, but I couldn't speak ill of Jolie in front of everyone, so I just said I was busy with work. 3 years passed like this. Kai became a 7th grader. Maybe it's his rebellious phase, but lately, his responses are sparse. Still, as a parent, his growth makes me happy. In these 3 years, there was no contact from Mike. Jolie was still the same, but I was at peace. However, one day, a phone call changed everything. "Hey, your son's wedding is starting." Hearing Mike's voice after so long, I regretted answering the call. "What? Kai's just in middle school." "Huh?" His confused voice came through. I couldn't believe he didn't remember his own son's age. I was filled with anger. "You don't even know how old Kai is?" "What?" "He's about 20, right? How could he think Kai was 20 when we divorced 11 years ago when he was 38? I could only sigh at Mike's carelessness. "You're the one who left us 11 years ago." "Yeah, but I didn't have any kids with that woman. That's why it's Kai's turn now." His selfish reasoning was apparent. I decided to fight back thoroughly. "I won't let you have your way. Don't contact us ever again. Hey." I hung up, ignoring the multiple calls from Mike. He deserved it. At best, he should be in trouble. I changed my phone number first. But then, Mike called me again, even with the new number. "Hey, you made me look like a fool. Now you're changing your number to run away?" At that moment, I realized why Mike knew where I was. I confronted him calmly. "You're connected with Jolie, aren't you?" "What are you talking about?" Mike was clearly flustered. Bingo. I calmly laid out my deductions to Mike. "You knew my address and even what Kai's school and face looked like, even though you haven't seen him since he was 3. All that info came from Jolie, right?" The phone was cut off abruptly. I tried calling back repeatedly. But Mike didn't answer. Eventually, he blocked my calls, so I sent an email. Mike, having read it, called me back immediately. "Don't you have a heart?" "That's exactly what I'd say to you." I retorted coldly to Mike, who was shouting without considering his own actions. "By the way, Jolie's there with you right now, isn't she? Can she take the phone?" "Why would you think that?" "I mean, no, she's not here." His too obvious reaction was exasperating. I murmured the contents of my email to him. "Kobe's father." "That's not you, Mike." "See, she's there, isn't she?" "Ah." It seemed Jolie had been eavesdropping on Mike's call. I calmly pointed out. "This is just a coincidence. Right?" "Yeah, a coincidence. We just met up to reminisce, you know?" Their transparent act made me sigh. 2 people alone in a hotel, reminiscing, huh? How did you know we're in a hotel? Hint, Jolie's purse. Her purse? Ah. A clashing sound came through the phone. But the location marker on my computer hadn't disappeared. "You shouldn't have said anything. Now you can't prove we're here, can you?" They sounded triumphant, but I couldn't help laughing. Jolie became a bit anxious at my laughter. "What's so funny?" "Oh, Jolie, seems like your tail's already been caught, hasn't it?" "What do you mean, no way?" "Yes, my GPS is safe and sound." Hearing my answer, Jolie let out another screech. The only other person who would put a GPS on her would be my brother, her husband. "Actually, I'm on the phone with my brother right now, so he's heard everything." "What?" Jolie screamed, obviously not expecting that. I had bought another smartphone separately. And had given only Jolie the new number. So, I had been on the phone with my brother the whole time. This all started with my brother consulting me about Jolie leaving the house at the same time every week, not doing much housework anymore, and becoming more irritable. I connected the dots when I learned when Jolie started acting this way. It matched precisely with when Mike started contacting me.
Jolie, what the hell are you doing? It's not what it looks like. It's just, we were just talking. So you take showers together just for talking, huh?
Apparently, my brother's GPS also had a listening device. So all their conversations were known to us.
Eavesdropping, that's just low. Says the woman who's been cheating with her brother-in-law for years.
My brother laughed scornfully at Jolie, who was grinding her teeth in frustration. Then Mike interrupted the conversation.
I truly love only Sana and Kai. What? You said I was number one. Just shut up for a sec. Sana, please, let's get back together.
I was speechless at his audacity in this situation. As I stayed silent, Jolie started spilling everything. You whispered sweet nothings to me. You said I was cuter than that plain Jane. What about our plans to remarry?
That's because I gotta arrange a marriage for Kai with a client's daughter.
Mike's slip of the tongue revealed his true intentions. I knew from my research that his business ventures were failing. Essentially, he wanted to set Kai up in a marriage while enjoying the sweet life with Jolie. Using my beloved son as a pawn was absolutely unforgivable. I decided to reveal something. By the way, Jolie, did you know? The house where you and our parents live, the one that got remodeled? It's been in my name since that day.
What are you talking about?
Her predictable response made me burst into laughter. My brother continued the explanation for me. When we decided to live together, didn't I explain? Insurance money for me, the house for Sana. It was all decided from the start. But we're the ones living in the house. Still, you were the one who agreed to live together. Jolie broke down crying on the other end of the phone. She must have been deeply shocked, as she seemed to have no energy left to argue.
Well, it doesn't matter who inherits what, you don't have any rights anymore.
What, even divorce? You thought you had a say in that?
But what about Kobe?
Jolie clung desperately to that hope. My brother coldly revealed the truth.
Kobe was the one who told me about the affair.
What? I was surprised, too. I knew about the consultation from my brother, but I hadn't heard how he found out. I was on a business trip, and my mother went on a trip with friends. You brought Mike home. Ah. She seemed to realize what he was referring to. Mike also muttered quietly, that time, huh? Kobe came home early from school that day feeling sick. The school called me, and then about 10 minutes later, he called from a payphone. According to him, Kobe had called, crying, and said he saw his mother entering the house with a man who wasn't his father. He peeked from the garden and saw them naked and embracing. A mother showing such a disgraceful sight to her teenage son doesn't deserve to see his face.
No, it's a lie. Kobe.
Jolie sobbed. She adored Kobe. It is why she was cold to me as a target of her jealousy but couldn't be harsh to Kai, who was close to Kobe. Being rejected by her beloved son must have been devastating. Jolie's sobbing was the only sound coming through the phone.
Well, we'll handle the rest through a lawyer. Your belongings will be sent to your parents' place later.
Jolie had no response to that. My brother then told me he was done talking and hung up.
You guys are cruel.
Crueler than a man who doesn't even know his son's age and tries to use him as a pawn?
You're really cocky.
I retorted sharply to Mike's raised voice. He didn't seem to think it was his turn to be confronted. Your business partner, that's Sonoma Company, right?
What about it? It's a big company, none of your business, woman.
In response to Mike, who was breathing heavily, I read out an article. As of today, Sonoma Company has gone bankrupt, and the expected debt is up to $800 million.
What? You've got to be kidding me.
If you think it's a lie, check it out online. It seemed that Mike hurriedly searched at my words. And then he screamed.
That guy. Are you kidding me? Won't I get my investment back? What am I going to do?
Your company is in trouble too. How do you know? Mike, a misogynist who didn't support women's advancement in society, never even remotely imagined that I knew about such circumstances. So, I decided to inform him. I have someone in my business contacts who is knowledgeable about such things. That's how I found out about your company when I had it looked into. Did you even understand it? As expected, Mike, who had belittled me, was met with a snort from me. I could hear Mike's frustrated groans. I told Mike that we would have our final discussion tomorrow. And he reluctantly agreed to come. Upon hearing that, I hung up the phone. The next day, Mike and Julie came to the designated location together. It seemed that Mike had somewhat recovered, as Julie had her arm linked with him. However, when she saw the person I was with, her face turned pale, and she quickly moved away. You're right on time. Wait, it's not just you. I didn't say anything like that. I said so, and Julie glared at me with a piercing gaze. It wasn't me who addressed Julie like that. Mom, I asked for some time. Kobe, well, that. You don't have to say anything, I came today to say goodbye. In response to Kobe's words, Julie froze in place. Then, she moved away from Mike and clung to Kobe.
I don't want to say goodbye. Hey, Kobe, let's live together, okay? It'll be fun, right?
In response to Julie, Kobe looked down at her with a smile. It was a cold smile that I couldn't have imagined coming from the usually gentle Kobe. Think about it, though.
In what world do you think a child would find it fun to live with their mother and her affair partner? Do you have any idea how shocked I was by the scene I witnessed from the backyard?
Kobe calmly confronted Julie with a smile, and she remained frozen and trembling. Watching the scene unfold, I was certain that Kobe really was my brother's son. His way of showing anger was exactly the same.
And that partner is the father of my best friend and cousin, Kai, Sanaa's ex-husband? How could you be so unprincipled? You're terrible. Who do you think gave birth to you?
Julie snapped back, seemingly reaching her limit. Kobe pointed at her and laughed coldly. Unfortunately, it was you.
Thanks for giving birth to me and for raising me. But you're not my mother anymore.
Saying that, Kobe forcibly peeled the clinging Julie off him. She fell to the ground, stunned. Mike glared at Kobe. Then Kai, who had been silent next to Kobe, began to speak.
I don't remember my dad, but I'm glad I don't. He's just a stranger to me, always has been, always will be.
Living together? Impossible, we're strangers. Mike was initially dumbfounded, then his face turned red. But before he could retort, Kai continued.
I don't care if I'm teased for being a mama's boy. My mom is my only parent, and if she remarries, that person will be my parent.
You're out. Who do you think allowed you to be born?
My mom, obviously. You just spread your seed. What?
Mike was so bluntly rejected that he seemed to lose all energy to argue. Tears almost came to my eyes seeing Kobe and Kai's growth. They had been burdened, but they stood by each other. I was so proud of Kobe and Kai.
We're off then.
We're going to see a movie.
We'll be back by curfew.
Smiling, the two ran off. Their youthful spirits a bit of relief. I handed Mike a document. Sign this. It's a restraining order and compensation for this time. You too. My brother said, taking out a document from his pocket. What? That's too much. I'm in debt, please. Not my problem. Maybe sell your body? While I was dismissing Mike, my brother was pushing Julie away.
I'll agree to the divorce. But let me live with you. I'll do anything, even housework. We can manage the housework ourselves.
Kobe and I don't need you. You're a corrupting influence. Julie's face went from pale to bloodless at my brother's merciless words. But he continued to lay into her. Just as I was feeling a tiny bit of pity for her, Mike clung to me. Is there really no chance of us getting back together? No chance at all, because I'm engaged now. What? Mike noticed the shining ring on my ring finger for the first time. In fact, after all this happened, I had been proposed to by my boyfriend. I've been dating him for about 2 years. Of course, Kai knew him and had given his approval. Did you cheat on me?
You're the one to talk. Stop with the funny jokes, please. I've been single for 11 years.
Mike was speechless, just opening and closing his mouth. The same was true for Julie, who had been pushed away by my brother. They both signed the papers with pale faces and then sat down on the spot. My brother and I glanced at them and left. The next day, my brother filed for divorce. When Julie's parents came to our parents' house to apologize, my brother's smile was so cold that even I, his sister, felt scared. The compensation from Julie's side was covered by selling her parents' house. And now she and her elderly parents, unable to work, are living in a rundown apartment, working day and night to pay back the compensation and cover living expenses. My brother was deeply hurt by Julie's affair, and he was bedridden for a few days. Kobe tenderly took care of him, and my brother quietly cried. Kobe also cried secretly sometimes. They really were father and son, and I found it endearingly ironic. It turned out that Mike and Julie's affair started after our divorce was finalized. Mike's mistress, brought by his mother, ran away soon after, so Mike approached Julie in an attempt to win me back. Mike was good-looking, despite his awful personality. And Julie, 5 years younger than him, was apparently swayed by this handsome man. Mike, now having lost his heir and his money, was disowned by his family and is working tirelessly in day labor. His salary almost entirely goes to my alimony, and he can't afford to rent a house, so he's sleeping in friend's house, then soon got kicked out there. I heard through the grapevine. My inability to sympathize with him probably stems from my intense dislike for him. Kai has become incredibly reliable since then. I don't know what changed in him, but it's something to be happy about. Yet, as a mother, I can't help but feel a little sad about it. As for me, I happily remarried the man I was engaged to. We're living joyful days. And Kai is very attached to him, sometimes goes out with him without me. Recently, I found out I'm pregnant. I haven't told my husband or Kai yet, but just imagining their happy faces knowing this fills me with joy. Today is my birthday. My husband and Kai are secretly preparing something. I'm looking forward to their surprise, but I have my own surprise for them.
Let's have some tea. The sunlight streamed through the clouds. I smiled thinking it was like angels announcing the news to them before me.